Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the GSMC Golf Podcast presented by the GSMC Sports Network. I'm your host, Garrison McDaniel, and we have a great show for you guys today. Today is our Thursday show at the GSMC Golf Podcast, so that means we're previewing the tournament that's going on and coming up at the RBC Canadian Open. It is the PGA event for this weekend, and it's a great one. It's not the biggest field, and we will talk about that in the third segment, but our first segment, we'll be talking about previewing the golf course, how it plays, how Hamilton Country Club has historically played, as it has been used on tour recently in 2019, where Rory McIlroy won that one. In our second segment, we'll be talking about Thursday's leaderboard. And then, as I mentioned, our third segment, we'll be talking about the short field and what it really means overall for the PGA Tour. Our fourth segment is going to be a little catch-up of the LIV Golf Tour, as it has been a little while since I've talked about it. They haven't had an event, but I'd like to refresh all of you guys of where it stands over there, and then we'll wrap things up by giving you my picks and predictions for the RBC Canadian Open. Before we get into all of that, though, guys, as I always mention, if you want to help support the GSMC Sports Network in any possible way, use the tips and donations link at gsmcpodcast.net. You can put your questions in the little box there, and then it'll put it up to the top of the list, show it over the top of the screen, and I'll be able to answer anything that you might ask me. But without further ado, we're going to get right into our first segment, talking about the Hamilton Country Club and how it plays. The Hamilton Country Club, the last time we saw it was in 2019. They added a little bit of length, and bear with me with the graphic. I know it's hard to see, but I'll tell you guys what all the numbers are saying for the RBC Canadian Open here, as I have it to the side here. We have pretty difficult holes here all throughout the course, but it is going to play a little bit easier than we've seen in recent memory, as they do add a little bit of length, but that makes it a little bit easier for these guys who are always going to be able to reach the green in two no matter what. So we have a traditional course. It's a par 70, though. It's a short par 70. Plays about 7,000 yards. And there is many drivable par 4s that these guys are going to love at this course here. The first hole is a dogleg left, 399 par 4. It plays about a 413, so it plays about 130 above average. That's the number you see on the screen right there. It's the sixth hardest hole. Today we saw one eagle on it, so it plays a little bit easier. With one eagle, 17 birdies, 102 pars, and 33 bogeys in the field today. I bet that statistic gets a little bit easier tomorrow even, as the course gets firmer and people start being able to read the greens a little bit better. We saw a few missed putts today that accounted for a lot of higher scoring than you kind of would assume. But guys played very well today. We'll talk about the leaderboard, as I mentioned in the second segment. The second hole is just a straightaway par 4 here. It plays 456. It plays about a tenth of a stroke above average today. No eagles. There was 22 birdies, 102 pars, and 28 bogeys on this hole. Played pretty difficult, but the guys were able to maneuver around that. It's the 10th hardest hole on the course. Number 3, it's a par 4, 413. A lot of short 400 par 4s, meaning wedge shots are going to be critical in this one. The people with the best greens in regulation are going to be the ones that do very well. Rory McIlroy, Sahith Theegala, Sam Burns, Shane Lowry, these guys we're really looking at to be able to contend this week. Once again, we'll get to that in my picks and predictions and why I believe those guys are kind of above the rest here. Hole 4 is a long par 5 that these guys love. It is the easiest hole on the golf, before that, we have a par 4, third, 413. It plays below par, pretty easy for these guys. And then hole 4 is that par 5, 531. It's just a straightaway par 4 with fairway bunkers on the right and all around the green. It plays so easy. These guys had 6 eagles today on this particular hole with 92 birdies as well. There were about as many eagles as there were bogeys on this hole. So the fourth hole at at the Hamilton Country Club is the one that these guys are going to look to move in at number 18. And then fifth hole is the 16th easiest hole on the golf course. Yes, it is the third easiest hole on the golf course. It's ranked 16 in their handicapped ranking. It is a 324-yard par 4. This is your drivable par 4 here. We're going to definitely see Rory McIlroy be able to drive this one. We're definitely going to be seeing other guys that are great with the driver be able to drive this one. We saw Sam Burns, I believe, drive the green on this one. We do have one eagle on this hole today, 52 birdies, 89 pars, and 12 bogeys. So once again, it plays very easy, third easiest hole in the course. And then right after that, you have a 256 par 3. I've noticed recently with these par 3s, they make them so long. There was like a 220-yard par 3 last week. At Valhalla, there was a 210-yard par 3. At the Wells Fargo Championship, there was like a 230-yard par 3. So they make these par 3s very difficult. It's a 256 on this one. This is the hardest hole on the golf course, and you can see why. A lot of these guys are taking probably a 4-iron, 3-iron into the 256. That is very difficult to be able to stick. Only 7 birdies, 61 bogeys on this one. A lot of guys did bogey 6 today, and it just makes sense. 256 par 3 is a difficult one. Then you're going into the 7th hole, par 4, 442. That plays above average. That is tied for the 8th hardest hole with the very next one, a 207 par 3. This little stretch of 4 holes here is very difficult. 1, 8, 8, 11. All of them are playing above par. Not a single eagle on any of these ones. Of course, none on the par 3s, but on the par 4s, no eagle. And on we're seeing about double the bogeys as we are seeing birdies on these, showing how difficult it is. They did renovate the golf course since 2019. They added a bunch of fairway bunkers on the par 4s, but they even more added a bunch of length. Last time we saw this course, it played around 6,900 yards. Now we're seeing it at over 7,000 at 70.27. Being a little bit difficult. This golf course did play over par today, something we haven't seen of a golf course in a while. Of course, Valhalla being a very easy major, that those always play above par, and that was the first major we saw play under par in a very long time. So this golf course is showing the difficulty in it. You don't need length to be a difficult golf course. Of course, this is a par 70, so it is a little bit more difficult for these guys because you're taking off 2 strokes, but a 7,027 is a very easy. So what it makes up for at the Hamilton Country Club is a bunch of hazards. Hole 8 is a lake on that par 3, and that makes it a little bit more difficult. You have so many bunkers on this course. And then there is a creek on, what hole was it? There's a creek on 3 that is at a lot of these guys' driving distance. So you got to take probably a wood or maybe even iron, lay up, and go for the green in 3 instead of as you would in 2 for hole 3, making it a little bit more difficult. So the front 9, as I mentioned, plays over par by about 5/100th of a stroke, so it was 0.50 above par, and then you're going into the back 9 where you have a pretty difficult back 9 here. A lot of these guys are going to need to move on the front 9 and then try to kind of survive on the back 9. That's kind of been the trend. 10, 11, 12 are 3 par 4s. They play combined over par, but with 10 and 12, those are birdie potentials. We saw 66 birdies on those 2 holes today, and then 11 is very difficult. It is the 3rd hardest hole. It is a 500-yard par 4, playing pretty much like a par 5. It is a dogleg left as well. It's just a difficult one. A lot of these guys are going to have trouble if you don't drive it to. There's a fairway bunker on the right there. If you don't drive it to that fairway bunker, you're going to be hard done by this hole. So we're going to see what these guys can do on that. It's such a difficult hole. It played 3/10 of a stroke over par today, so we're going to see how that plays out there. And then after you get through, there's a stretch of 4 par 4s in a row. Then you go to a par 3. That's 195. That is your shortest or your second shortest hole on the course, but it does play very difficult. 13 plays difficult because of all the hazard. You are basically shooting at only the green. Around the green is just rough and bunkers. So if you miss the green, it's going to be difficult to get up and down, and we saw that today as on 13, 195, we saw 10 birdies and 28 bogeys. 3 times as many bogeys as birdies is difficult. Then you're going into 14, 15, both playing over par as well. 14 is the second hardest hole on the golf course, playing about 4/10 of a stroke over par, and then 15, 16, 17, and 18 will wrap you up with a pretty difficult stretch as well, besides 17, which is the second easiest hole on the course. So this course, although not long, you do have a few difficult holes. Of course, the 474-yard par 4 that it is playing 4/10 of the stroke is probably your hardest, and the entire back nine, you're about a full stroke above par on the back nine. So we're going to see how these guys are able to maneuver throughout the Hamilton Golf and Country Club. It's going to be such a great event. Going into this one, I have my winning score being around 20, but that's not because of the easiness of the golf course. It's because of the drivable par 4s, or there's 2 of them that are on this course, and then the par 5s are very eagleable. So you just need to survive those difficult holes. And a lot of people did. We're going to be talking about that in our second segment. So that'll wrap it up for our first segment, talking about Hamilton Golf Club, or Hamilton Country Club. And then when I come back, we'll be talking about the Thursday's leaderboard and how it's shaped up.